Last Tuesday, my wife slammed the door and said, "You're leaving tonight. The house is mine. Always was. You have no rights here." She thought she'd won the ultimate divorce jackpot. What she didn't know was that this house wasn't just a home. It was the trophy from a contest I'd won. And the fine print? That was my secret weapon. She didn't cry. She didn't even look sad. She just stood in the middle of our glass-walled living room in her silk blouse, sipping wine like she was hosting a victory toast. "I'm done, Tyler," she said, casual as if ordering takeout. "I've already spoken to my attorney. The divorce papers are coming this week." I stared at her. "We could talk." "No." She laughed, sharp and cold. "We're not doing counseling. We're not doing drama. We're done. And I'm keeping the house. Obviously." Her smirk was the kind of thing that could make you want to flip a table. "Pack a bag. Be out by Friday." My pulse pounded in my ears, but I kept my face neutral. "Right," I said. "Your house. Got it." That made her smile, like a cat that just found the canary in its teeth. She thought the game was over. What she didn't know? I was still holding an ace. 4 years and 9 months ago, I was just some broke freelance copywriter living in a one-bedroom rental in Columbus. Then Horizon Estates, a luxury home developer, launched their Home of Tomorrow national contest. The grand prize? A cutting-edge, fully furnished smart home worth $1.2 million. To enter, you had to submit a 5,000-word essay on the future of sustainable living. I stayed up nights researching, writing, editing, pouring my obsession with architecture and tech into every line. Samantha, my wife back then, thought it was cute. "You really think you're going to win a mansion with an essay?" she'd say with that amused tone. 6 months later, I did. Cameras. A giant check. A ribbon-cutting ceremony. National coverage. For a second, I thought my life had changed forever. When the lawyers from Horizon sat us down, they brought a mountain of paperwork. That's when Samantha's dad's attorney suggested something smart. "Put the house in her name alone. Keeps it safe from Tyler's old debts," he said. I didn't have much debt, but it sounded practical at the time. I agreed without blinking. What nobody else paid attention to, but I did, was a very specific clause buried in the official prize contract. It was called the Prize Integrity and Non-Transfer Clause. It said, for 5 years, the home could not be sold, transferred, or considered a marital asset in divorce. If the winning couple split within that window, ownership automatically reverted to the original contest winner. That winner was me. We were now 3 months shy of the 5-year mark. So when Samantha told me to get out, I just nodded, packed my essentials, left my defeat hanging in the air for her to savor. That night, I moved my bags into my buddy Chris's spare room. The next morning, I walked into a quiet coffee shop, opened my laptop, and pulled up Horizon Estates' corporate site. Instead of calling a divorce lawyer, I dialed the number for Horizon's prize and promotions department. "Hi, my name's Tyler Reeves," I said when a woman picked up. "I won your Home of Tomorrow contest in 2020. I need to speak to someone about enforcing the reversion clause in my prize contract." There was a pause. Then, click, my call was transferred to someone else. The voice that came on was deep, clipped, and all business. "This is Mark Dalton, head of Horizon Estates Legal. Tell me exactly what's happening." By the time I hung up, I knew one thing. Samantha was about to learn the hard way that the fine print isn't just words. It's a loaded weapon. Mark Dalton didn't waste time. "This is a textbook breach," he said. "We've shut down situations like this before. You have the contract, correct?" "I do." "Scanned and saved," I replied. "Email it to me. Today." I sent it before he even finished giving me his address. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. "Mr. Reeves, I've read your file," Dalton said. "Let me be blunt. We will not allow your prize to be taken. For us, this is brand protection. For you, it's justice. But you need to follow my lead exactly. Do not respond to her attorney. Do not confront her. Let us make the first strike." I hung up feeling something I hadn't felt since the night Samantha dropped her little bombshell. Control. 2 days later, my buddy Chris slid an envelope across the table at breakfast. "This came for you," he said, smirking. "The return address?" "Samantha's lawyer." Inside was a thick packet of divorce papers. The arrogance practically dripped off the page. House listed as her sole property, a demand for me to sign a quitclaim deed, and a request for spousal support because, apparently, she'd grown accustomed to a certain standard of living. I didn't even bother reading the rest. I scanned it, emailed it to Dalton, and went back to my eggs. That night, the first counterstrike landed. Dave, my old next-door neighbor, texted me a photo, an official-looking courier envelope sitting on Samantha's porch. "Looks important," he wrote. She looked pale when she saw it. An hour later, my phone rang. She didn't yell. She didn't curse. She sobbed. "Tyler, what is this? What is Horizon talking about? They're saying the house isn't mine, that there's some clause. What is this?" I kept my voice calm, like I was explaining math to a kid. It's in the original prize contract, Sam. The one we both signed. If we divorce before 5 years, the house goes back to me. Not us. Me. That's the deal. No. No. My lawyer said the deed is what matters. She cried. Then your lawyer didn't read the actual contract that made the deed possible. Horizon's lawyers did. And I'm pretty sure they're better at their job. Her panic sharpened into rage. You're trying to make me homeless. No, I said coldly. You did that to yourself. You could have waited 3 months. But you wanted me gone now. And now you get the consequences. She hung up without another word. The next week was oddly quiet. Too quiet. Samantha's lawyer sent a blustery letter to Horizon claiming the reversion clause was unconscionable and unenforceable. Dalton's response. A 48-page legal brief that could have doubled as a nuclear warhead. Case law citations. Contract law precedents. Corporate prize regulations. By the time he was done, her deed trumps all argument was rubble. The letter ended with a threat. If she didn't withdraw her claim to the house immediately, Horizon would intervene in the divorce and pursue her for attempted fraudulent conversion of corporate property. Her lawyer folded in 2 days. I found out because mine. Yes, I finally hired one to handle the divorce paperwork. Called to say her side had officially dropped all claims to the house. It should have ended there. But Samantha wasn't done. When you take away a narcissist's trophy, they don't vanish. They escalate. First, she went for my reputation, telling friends and family that I'd tricked her with legal loopholes, that I was heartless for stealing her home. But people remembered who actually won the contest. They'd watched me agonize over that essay. They'd cheered when I got the keys. Her smear campaign fizzled fast. Then she tried guilt. Long texts about how she had nowhere to go and couldn't believe I'd do this to someone I once loved. I ignored them all. It was the third tactic that blindsided me. I had to go back to the house with a neutral third party to collect the rest of my stuff. She was there, arms folded, eyes sharp as knives. I went to my old office to grab a box of books and found something shoved way in the back of the closet. A shoebox. Inside, greeting cards, printed emails, and near the bottom, the smoking gun, explicit messages from a guy named Ryan, planning weekends away, mocking me, and talking about our home once she finally got rid of him. My stomach twisted, but I didn't say a word. I just slid the stack into my bag. The house battle was already over. But these would decide the rest of the war. I didn't rush to use the emails. That kind of evidence, you wait until it's worth the most. So I tucked them into a sealed envelope, labeled it for attorney use only, and dropped it at my lawyer's office the next morning. When he flipped through them, his eyebrows shot up. Well, he said, this changes everything. See, Samantha had been pushing for spousal support in addition to the smaller assets we still had to divide. Joint savings, the car, some investments. Her argument was that she'd sacrificed her career to support me while I was building my freelance business. The truth? I'd been the one covering 80% of the bills for years. The emails didn't just prove she'd been having an affair for over a year, they showed her intent. She and Ryan weren't just cheating. They were conspiring to take the house and start their real life together. And family court judges love when intent is clear, especially when it's malicious. We waited until settlement negotiations to drop it. The first session started like every other tense legal meeting. 2 attorneys at opposite ends of the table, clients sitting stiff in the middle, air thick enough to choke on. Samantha wouldn't look at me. Her lawyer launched into some long-winded speech about equitable division of marital assets and reasonable ongoing support. My lawyer let him talk for 10 minutes. Then he slid the envelope across the table. These are exhibits we'll be entering if this proceeds to trial. The guy opened it, scanned a few pages, and froze. I watched the blood drain from Samantha's face. Where did you get those? She stammered. In your client's closet, my lawyer said evenly. During a court-approved retrieval of personal property. They were in plain sight. Her lawyer muttered something about inadmissible private correspondence. My lawyer smiled the way a wolf does before it bites. They were printed, stored, and they demonstrate both marital misconduct and intent to commit asset fraud. The judge will see them. Silence. The kind of silence that makes you hear the hum of the fluorescent lights. From that moment, Samantha's leverage disintegrated. By the end of the day, her demands had evaporated. She was suddenly willing to take her own car, her clothes, and whatever furniture she could move without damaging the house. No spousal support. No share of the savings. It was over, at least on paper. But outside the legal room, she was unraveling. The next week, she called me late at night, drunk, sobbing about how Ryan had pulled away since the Horizon letter arrived. How she just wanted to go back to how things were before. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't have words, but because I didn't owe her a single syllable. Chris, my roommate, kept me updated on neighborhood gossip. Apparently, Ryan hadn't been around in weeks. Neighbors said they saw Samantha loading boxes into her car alone. One afternoon, Dave, the same neighbor who'd texted me about the courier, sent me a photo. Samantha was sitting on the porch steps, head in her hands, while a moving van idled in the driveway. I didn't watch her leave. Didn't need to. 2 days later, my lawyer called. Tyler, it's official. The judge signed off on the final decree. Horizon's reversion clause is triggered. You are the sole legal owner of the property as of today. Just like that, the house was mine again. When I pulled into the driveway that night, I didn't go inside right away. I just stood there, looking at it. The same walls where she'd told me I had no rights. The same floor she'd stood on when she said she was keeping everything. And now? Empty. Silent. Waiting for me. It didn't feel like a prize anymore. It felt like something I'd earned twice, once with an essay and once with endurance. The first few weeks after the decree were eerily calm. No texts, no voicemails, no drama. It was almost suspicious, until Chris came home one evening, grinning like he'd just heard the juiciest piece of gossip in the city. You're not gonna believe this, he said, dropping a grocery bag on the counter. Guess who's living in a one-bedroom above the old laundromat on Brook Street? I didn't even have to guess. Apparently, Ryan hadn't just pulled away. He'd vanished entirely once the dream of living in $1 million smart home went up in smoke. One of our mutual friends had seen Samantha at the local hardware store, buying cheap blinds and a plunger. No engagement ring. No Ryan. No fancy silk blouses, just a hoodie and sweats. I should have felt bad. I didn't. See, when someone tries to destroy your life and fails, you realize they were never really aiming at you. They were aiming at what you had. And she'd aimed badly. Meanwhile, I was reclaiming every inch of my house. I ripped out the pretentious decor she'd insisted on, repainted the walls, swapped out the cold modern couches for something warm and inviting. I even changed the locks, not just for security, but for the symbolic satisfaction of it. 3 weeks in, a letter arrived from Horizon Estates. I recognized the logo instantly. Sleek, silver embossing, corporate perfection. Inside was a short note from Mark Dalton. Mr. Reeves, congratulations on successfully defending your prize. You've handled this ordeal with integrity and composure. Enclosed, please find a check for $40,000 to assist with legal costs and upgrades to your property. We hope your home continues to inspire you. I stared at the check for a long time. It wasn't just money, it was validation. A corporate giant had taken my side, fought with me, and then rewarded me for surviving. Chris joked that I should use it to install a gold-plated espresso machine in the kitchen. I decided on something more practical, a state-of-the-art security system, and a few renovations I'd always dreamed about. Just as I was settling into this new chapter, Samantha broke the silence. It started with a single text. Can we talk? I ignored it. Then came the voicemails, emotional, rambling, half apologies mixed with accusations. She said she'd lost everything and hinted that she was in trouble. By the third voicemail, she wasn't hinting anymore. She was begging. She claimed Ryan had been living off her and that she was deep in debt. She said she might have to declare bankruptcy. I deleted every single one without responding. 2 days later, I was at the hardware store picking up paint when I saw her in the next aisle. She froze when she spotted me. For a split second, her face softened, like she was about to say something human. Then the bitterness took over. You happy? She snapped. You ruined my life. I put down the paint can and met her glare. No, Sam. You ruined your own life. I just made sure you didn't take mine with it. Her jaw tightened. She muttered something I didn't catch and walked away, pushing her cart like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Driving home, I realized something strange. I wasn't angry anymore. The fight was over. She was just another person in the world now, someone I used to know, someone who made a series of bad choices and paid for them. That night, I sat in my living room, the same one she'd once claimed as hers, and listened to the quiet hum of the house systems. The lights shifted to warm gold as the sun went down. For the first time in months, I felt completely at peace. But I had no idea the story wasn't quite done. Because in less than a week, I'd get a phone call that would make the entire saga feel like it was coming full circle. The call came on a Thursday afternoon. I was upstairs painting the guest room when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Reeves? The voice on the other end said. This is Caroline Shaw from Horizon Estates Corporate Affairs. I'm calling because your ex-wife has contacted us. That sentence alone nearly made me drop the roller. She what? Yes, Caroline continued, her tone clipped but measured. She claims she has new information about the circumstances surrounding your contest entry, and she's threatening to go public unless we revisit the ownership transfer. I leaned against the wall, paintbrush dangling. And what exactly is she claiming? Caroline sighed. She says she helped write your winning essay. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. That's insane. She didn't touch a single word of it. I believe you, Caroline said. But understand, accusations like this can be damaging, especially if she goes to the media. We prefer to neutralize situations before they turn into PR problems. She asked if I'd be willing to come into Horizon's downtown office the next day with any proof I had that the essay was solely my work. Proof? I had plenty. Multiple drafts saved on my laptop, dated emails with submission confirmations, even old text threads where she'd openly mocked me for wasting time on it. Still, I barely slept that night. This wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about my reputation. When I walked into Horizon's boardroom the next morning, Dalton was already there, looking like he'd bitten into a lemon. Caroline sat beside him, a folder in front of her. Tyler, your ex-wife has been persistent, Dalton said. She's also made a thinly veiled suggestion that Horizon should offer her a financial settlement to avoid public embarrassment. Blackmail. She'd gone from entitled to desperate to reckless. I slid a flash drive across the table. Every draft. Every timestamp. And this, I pulled out my old phone, opened the text thread, and read aloud one of her messages from the week I submitted the essay. I hope this little project keeps you busy while I'm at yoga, dreamer. Caroline smirked. This will do. They asked me to wait outside while they made a call. 10 minutes later, Dalton stepped into the hallway, his expression positively gleeful. She's agreed to sign a statement retracting her claims. In exchange, we're giving her nothing. Not a dime. We also advised her that if she continues, we'll file a defamation suit on your behalf, which we will happily bankroll. I should have been relieved. I was for about an hour. Then the unpredictable part hit. That evening, Dave from next door texted me again. Something's going on at your place. A black SUV pulled up and two guys in suits are knocking on your door. I got home in record time. The SUV was gone, but a business card was tucked under my doormat. Internal Revenue Service, Office of Investigations. The pit in my stomach was immediate. The next morning, an agent called. They were conducting an inquiry into potential undisclosed assets linked to the contest prize. They wanted to schedule a meeting. My brain went into overdrive. Was this Samantha again? Had she filed some bogus tip? Or was this about the money Horizon had just given me? I called Dalton immediately. He was calm, annoyingly calm. Tyler, don't panic. Sometimes when there's a publicized prize, the IRS does a follow-up audit. We'll have our tax counsel present. But yes, it's also possible your ex-wife made a report. If she did, she may have just made her final and most costly mistake. Because if the IRS found she'd been trying to interfere with legal ownership for financial gain, that could cross into criminal territory. I agreed to the meeting, already imagining the look on Samantha's face if this whole mess turned around to bite her harder than ever. The IRS meeting was set for a Monday morning. Dalton insisted we hold it at Horizon's corporate legal offices, so I'd be walking into familiar territory. When I arrived, two agents were already there, one middle-aged and calm, the other younger and stone-faced, both dressed in dark suits that said we don't waste time. Mr. Reeves, the older agent began. We're looking into a report we received about potential undisclosed assets related to your contest winnings. It alleges the prize was improperly transferred and that you concealed income. I didn't even need to guess who filed it. Dalton slid a thick binder across the table. Here's every financial statement since Mr. Reeves won the property, tax documents for each year, correspondence with the IRS from the original prize valuation, and, most importantly, the official contest contract and transfer documents. You'll also find digital forensics proving Mr. Reeves authored the winning entry himself. The younger agent flipped through it, his eyes scanning the highlighted sections. And the source of this report, he asked. The older agent glanced at his notes. An individual named Samantha Keaton. Dalton leaned forward, voice like steel. That's Mr. Reeves' ex-wife. She's been attempting to claim this property through multiple legal channels. All have failed. Her latest tactic appears to be a malicious false report. The agents exchanged a look. We'll be following up with her, the older one said. Making a knowingly false report to a federal agency is a criminal offense. I almost smiled. Almost. The meeting wrapped in under an hour. By the end, it was clear I was clean. The paper trail was airtight. But Samantha? She'd just taken her obsession into felony territory. 2 days later, Dave texted me. Dude, 2 black SUVs at Samantha's building this morning. Looked official. That night, I got the full story from Chris. Agents had shown up at her apartment with a summons. She was under investigation for filing a false claim. Depending on how hard they pushed it, she could be facing fines, or worse. I wish I could say I felt triumphant. I didn't. What I felt was finality. This wasn't just the end of a marriage or a legal battle. It was the end of her having any hold over my life. 3 weeks later, Horizon hosted a small press event at my house for a new Winner's Legacy campaign. They wanted to feature me as the example of perseverance and the integrity they hoped their winners embodied. Standing on my front porch, smiling for the cameras, I realized just how far I'd come from that night. She told me I had no rights here. And then, one last curveball. After the reporters left, Caroline handed me a sealed envelope. From the board, she said. Inside was a personal letter thanking me for protecting the integrity of the contest and a second check. This one for $60,000, earmarked for future creative projects. I laughed, an honest, uncontrollable laugh. Samantha had tried to strip me of everything, and in the end, I'd walked away with my home, my reputation intact, and over $100,000 in unexpected windfalls. As the sun set that evening, I sat in my living room, listening to the quiet hum of the smart systems. No bitterness, no weight, just peace, and a thought I couldn't shake. If she'd just waited 3 months, she could have kept the house. But greed has a way of tripping you before you reach the finish line. That's the end of today's story. Did things turn out the way you thought, or were there some surprises along the way? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't joined the community yet, now's the perfect time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you're always the first to catch new stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.